But the biggest thing, every night at like midnight, after all the games were over, I would enter all the players' points, and I would then try to calculate in reverse how I could have calculated that number. I did that for about 2 years.
Wow, by hand?
By hand. And eventually, I arrived at a formula that was incredibly accurate, and I said, this is good. And then I started selling it later because I'm realizing people could actually profit a lot of money. In between college graduating and law school, I took a gap year.
Yeah, I did know that.
And in that gap year, I reached out to Chris Ballard, the Colts general manager, and I sent him an email. My brother worked for the Buccaneers, so I had his email.
Know that.
And so I sent him an email. I said, listen, like I'm in a gap year, like I'm going to law school, but I'm not really like sure I want to be in law school. So like if you have any opportunities, like I know the game of football really well, like I'll help in any capacity. Like I'd like to work for you. He emailed me back and said, give me a call with his phone number.
No way.
So I talked to him on the phone for like an hour. We had like a conversation, and
an hour?
Yeah, we spent like an hour on the phone.
Your brother worked for him in Tampa?
No, my brother worked for the Buccaneers.
But Chris Ballard.
But I had his email because he has like a directory of all the employees in the NFL. So I emailed him, and he actually got back to me and gave me a call, and we spoke on the phone for like an hour. And he was like, I don't have any opportunities, but like you should go to law school, and like you should do all this. And
that's incredible.
I know.
That makes you a Colts fan. For sure, so for life.
Awesome. I mean, he should be fired. But
why? They're pretty good.
I mean, they've never won the division, and he's been the GM for like 7 years, 8 years. I mean,
people forget they used to.
He's had 15 quarterbacks.
It wasn't that long ago where they were winning the division every single year.
Well, Andrew Luck. I mean, when he retired, I cried. Like I was like, real. I mean, that really. He's fucked me up.
Stanford, man.
I know.
What do you think about Frank Reich coaching them?
I don't know college. Like he asked me to be on the podcast.
So Frank Reich was.
I know. I knew he coached Stanford.
For 1 year.
I know Andrew Luck also was
He's
like
the
a
GM
GM.
now.
I don't know colleges have a GM. I didn't even know that until this year. But I mean, he's such a high football IQ. It's like, it's great that he does something in that capacity. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know.
He's just high IQ generally.
Frank Reich, I think when he started was very good.
Yeah.
Because he went for it he was like the first coach to go for it in like every fourth down. Like that was his
Dan
thing.
Campbell before Dan
Right,
Campbell.
that was like his thing, and he did it. And it was fun to watch the beginning, and then, just...
A little too much YOLO.
And then Andrew Luck retired, and with Brissett, but the quarterbacks, that's on the GM. If the team cannot have quarterbacks, that's on the GM.
And the issue with...
And I have all their jerseys from Rivers. Yeah, I had the Rivers jersey already ready to go. So in Miami, I was wearing the Rivers. Everyone's looking at me like, how do you have that?
What a performance that guy put on.
I'm so impressed, yeah.
I thought Riley Leonard looked good on Sunday.
He did.
Is he the
Absolutely.
guy?
No way.
Is Daniel Jones the guy?
Hot take.
Please.
I'm a big Anthony Richardson believer.
Oh my God.
His ceiling is so high. And
How low is his floor? I think we've seen it, I hope.
I think
is
we've
there a
seen
basement?
I think this is it. But like, he hasn't had an opportunity. He's like played a game or two. He's gotten hurt. He hasn't really had that opportunity. And so I really believe if he's given, I don't think it's going to be with the Colts. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I think he's going to flourish somewhere else. Because it's not, they've already told him we don't believe in you. He's already lost that confidence in Indianapolis. But I think he'll go somewhere and really flourish. Like, he's got the talent. Like, his scores, like, there's like some athletic score.
Yeah.
He was like off the charts, like top.
Why hasn't it worked thus far?
I don't think he's gotten he's been hurt a lot. He has like many concussions. He doesn't slide,
Yeah, I was going to say, how much of that's going to go away?
He had a shoulder injury. He hasn't really played a full season. And I think if he gets game 1 to game 17 and plays a full season, and develops, and then I think eventually he could be really, really good. So let it be known, this is January 6th, 2020.
Timestamp it.
6, yeah.
When he's getting inducted into Canton.
When Anthony Richardson is like impressing everyone, and everyone's like, I didn't see this coming. Just know, I saw it coming.
When Cam is giving his speech in Canton, Ohio, giving him the gold jacket, we got the timestamps. You already gave me a spicy take with the Colts. What is your spiciest take about the world of sports betting?
That's such a tough question.
Why are most people bad at sports betting?
Well, I think most people don't know what to research. I think that is what it comes down to. I see people in my free Discord all the time talk about, I'm using all these apps to research. And these apps are giving them like 2 or 3 variables. They're making their decisions off 2 or 3 variables. My model has like several different variables, and so that's how it's so accurate, is I'm looking at all these different things. If you look at 3 different variables, you're not going to be able to accurately predict what's going to happen because it's not enough. There's so many things that can affect the outcome of a game or of how a player does in a certain game. So I think that is the biggest reason people struggle, is they don't know what to look at or how to look at it.
How did you arrive at your model and your set of inputs, so to speak?
Well, it took 3 years to do.
But people don't have 3 years to
Right.
They're not willing to commit to 3 years of work.
But the biggest thing was every night at like midnight, after all the games were over, I would enter all the players' points, all their stats into a Google spreadsheet, and I would then try to calculate in reverse how I could have calculated that number. So I did that for about 2 years.
Wow. By hand.
By hand. So I'd look at different stats and I'd be like, okay, this guy was projected 32, but he scored 26. How could I have brought that down a little bit? So I looked at everything for 2 years. I'm a 2-year process. And eventually I arrived at a number. I arrived at a formula that was incredibly accurate, and I said, this is good. And then I started selling it later because I'm realizing people could actually profit a lot of money off of this.
Okay, when was this? When was the start of the 2-year odyssey? And when did you get the model to a place where you're like, okay, this is legit. I want to bet some serious cash.
So I started in about 2020 during COVID.
Yeah.
2022, I like finished the model. 2023, I was like experimenting with it, and I went to market with it with DubClub in 2024.
How often do you tweak the model now? Or you feel
Like never.
It's like baked?
For now, but I do believe that a part of any industry in the entire world is adaptation. No industry, no person is going to be successful doing the same thing for decades on end. It just doesn't happen. In every industry, there's adaptation. So I do believe at some point I'm going to have to adapt and adjust some things. But I'm ready when that happens, and we'll go from there. But for now, the model's hitting on all cylinders, so we're going to stick with it.
I want to learn more about how you made the model. You said you were inputting figures by hand into a spreadsheet for years. What did you learn through the process of like clicking the buttons at like the data entry level and also living in like the analysis or summary level, inputs, outputs level? You're doing everything.
So I think the first thing that really caught me off guard was the amount of time it takes to just enter data, like even by hand, and that's why everything nowadays is automated.
Yep.
It's a big time saver. But that took a while, and I would go to bed. I'd start this process at midnight after the last game ended. I wouldn't go to bed till 3 or 4 a.m. because it just took a while.
For 2 years, after every NBA game.
I didn't really sleep that much, or I would sleep, but I'd wake up at 3 p.m. My friends and family thought I was insane, that I was, waking up at 3 p.m. and thought I wasn't being productive and all that stuff.
No,
but I was just not under their hours. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that caught me off guard, is it totally affected my schedule.
Why didn't you automate it? Why didn't you figure out a way to do it automatically?
Because I'm very stubborn, and I trust it more when I do it, because I know that it's going to be right. Whereas
I'm that way with line shopping.
Really?
I could use a million different apps, but I like opening every single app and looking at the price.
See, I think that's crazy.
Pick
it.
I know. That's what everybody says. No free ads. Pick it. I heard you have a great product. I use it. I don't use it for line shopping though, because there are times where I'll see it says one number on Pickett, and then I'll open up the app and it's a little different.
Well, that means
You're the
it's
same
changed in the time, but no, for the most part, Pickett's amazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're inputting these numbers by hand every day, every night, I should say, for 4 hours a night. Just NBA, correct?
Yes.
Why did you pick the NBA to build this masterpiece?
The NBA, I think, is the most entertaining sport to watch. I know a lot of people have...
That's contrarian right there.
Money, it is. I know a lot of people have money on these games every single night, and they lose. Because I see all the time, whether it be on all these social media platforms, whatever it is, people are like, oh, I lost by one leg, I lost by this. And I think, in my head, when I saw all that stuff, I was like, we're going to solve that problem. No more losing by one leg. We're going to fix that so you can actually win every leg and win money.
You said big part of the reason why people aren't profitable long term sports betting is they're making decisions from too small of a input field.
I don't think they know how to make decisions.
They don't know how to
I
make
think they're
decisions.
making decisions they think are good when in reality they're not.
Yeah.
And so they're losing by one leg, or they're losing by, maybe 1 point, and they think they're just unlucky, but it's not really bad luck. It was a bad pick.
Bad bet.
Yeah.
And bad outcome.
Hmm. And there is luck involved. I don't want to dismiss that because I think there is something to be said about luck. There's always a luck factor in every single bet you make. There's always a little bit of luck. But long term, the good luck and the bad luck should even out.
There's a lot I want to talk about on that frame. Before we do, I want to ask, don't give us the full 23 flavor recipe, Dr. Pepper. But what's one thing that's like either heavily weighted in your model that a lot of people don't think about at all, or is lightly weighted in your model that people think about a lot when they're thinking about making a bet?
That's a very good question. And I think this variable is the one that took me the longest to actually realize, and that is field goals attempted and field goal percentage against. Because there is a factor, and I don't want to give away the full recipe, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But there's a factor there. If a team allows a low field goal percentage against, but a lot of field goals attempted, it's to say that that's not because the defense is that good, but it's because a player just can't hit a wide open shot, which happens.
Yeah.
And you have to weight both of those in a certain way to offset each other almost, so you know the accurate representation of, is this player against this team going to have volume in this matchup? Or is he not going to have volume? What is he going to do with the volume? And so field goal percentage against and field goals attempted
The nominal amount, the number.
is very important, and that's something that I figured out later in the process.
There's so much in basketball with these statistics. It's not that big a floor. There's only so many things that can happen.
Right.
But all the statistics are interconnected, right? Like what you just described.
How often a team plays zone versus man. How a team is one of the biggest things. This is a little secret for you guys.
You guys are getting all the recipes.
One of the things you have to account for is pace. Some teams, every possession they get rebound the ball, they're trying to push. Some teams they want to rebound and slow it down, and that's something to be accounted for because the faster a team goes off the jump, the more possessions they're going to get, and the other team's going to get during a game, and that's more attempts that a player's going to get. And so these are things that people don't look at.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to realize these are things that should be looked at, and that's why, again, my model is so successful. So subscribe to Seeing Green because you're going to get all this data.
Boom. And the other thing, I think what you said about being stubborn and inputting all the data manually, there's something to that, where you start to recognize the patterns.
I definitely believe that.
In a way where you're punching them in. And I know from an hours on task, like you could debate till the cows come home on whether it's the right use of time, but I 100% agree that there's something to that, where you're feeling the trends, the numbers, the relationships between the metrics, where it's like, wait, you can start to come with, or I would say generate unique insights in a way that's hard to arrive at if you're not tangibly feeling it.
Right.
Every night at 2 a.m.
Right, and I'd say you also develop connections because you remember, this player scored this against this team, and this player scored this against this team. So in your head, you automatically kind of make these connections. Whereas if you're not doing it manually, you may not make the connection. And the analogy I'd make, if anyone watching here is a college student or going to be a college student, the analogy I would make is that if you're taking notes in a class, and nowadays a lot of it's automated, so you may have your recorder on, and it's going to take notes for you. But I think the analogy to be made is if you're in class listening to a professor and you're taking notes by hand, you will retain information better because you're doing that. It's the same concept as what I did with my model.
Totally. People know how to shoot a layup. Why do they do layup lines before the game?
Right.
You got to groove the muscle memory.
Exactly.
Another thing that you said I thought was very interesting, very prescient. There's a difference between good bet and a good outcome. How have you developed, and this may be more of a question for when you were developing the model itself between 2020 and 2022, that judgment for, okay, the model is losing, that's just bad luck but good process, versus we need to readjust the actual model approach?
Another amazing question. There's two ways to view betting. There's results-based betting and process-based betting. And so people who are very results-based are not going to be successful. It's about a process. So the biggest way to indicate whether a model is good or not is by beating closing line value, otherwise known as CLV. So bets and line shopping is a market. That's how it is. So if I bet on LeBron James to score 20 and a half points in the morning at like 7 or 8 a.m. when I give my plays, and the line closes before the game at 22 and a half, we beat CLV. I gave you, and you took a bet in the morning, and by the time it closed, you got good value on it. That is the process. And if you do that consistently, you will win. That's how it's set up for you. Now, LeBron may score 18 points, and the beating CLV didn't really matter because he went on it. But that process of beating CLV will help you long term. And if you beat CLV like we do, 75, 80% of the time, long term you will win. Even though you may not beat CLV in every single one, it is a long-term thing. And that's why I push everyone to longer-term duration packages, because on shorter-term duration, there's variance. We may not have a good 3 days. Not every 3 days is good. Not every day is good. Not every week is good. But for the most part, every month is good. And every season is phenomenal. But longer-term duration packages lowers the variance because you get a higher sample size, and it is ultimately better. So beating CLV is the main process-based betting. It's the way to look at it instead of results-based.
How do you, everything you're saying makes 100% sense. I think as an experienced bettor, it's like, duh, I already want to go subscribe because everything you're saying is the mark of a sound process who's going to be a winner long term. Talk to like a recreational bettor who's getting into it for the first time, is probably doing the wrong things, YOLOing parlays, not thinking about closing line value, not thinking about being process oriented. How do we rewire that person's brain to view betting not just as a fun thing to do on the couch, but like, yeah, it's still fun, I still sweat out the bets, but I can actually make some money while I'm doing it? What are the changes they need to make to their psychology or mentality?
So I think when I talk to people, because I talk to a lot of people about this, and I think the biggest thing that gets people to see things differently is realize the amount of money you're losing, you know? And so when you look at how much money you've actually lost from the time you started betting to now, that should be your, okay, I've done this for 5 years, I've lost this X amount of money. Imagine if I do this for the next 50 years of my life, how much I'm going to be down.
Yeah. How many vacations am I skipping?
How many vacations am I skipping? How many
extra
gifts
years am I working?
How many years am I working? You know, I want to surprise my wife with something. How many gifts can I get her? Because diamond bracelets go a long way, you know? But I mean, really think about it, and that should really rewire how you think. Because you can bet for fun, but I think it's more fun to do the same thing, but actually go to bed and you're green at the end of the day. I think
winning is more fun than losing, generally speaking.
Absolutely.
But gambling is one of those things where losing still is fun too, right? Like, to a certain degree.
Well, it depends how you look at it.
Yeah.
And that's what incentivized me to build my model, is because for me, losing was never okay.
You're too stubborn.
I'm too stubborn.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes, the mark of a great athlete too. For Tom Brady, losing was never acceptable. Didn't matter how they lost or how well they played. Losing was never acceptable. And that's how I looked at it. And that's what incentivized me to build my model at the end of the day. And that's how people, should look at it, is that losing is not okay. And if I lose by one leg, how can we fix that to winning,
This is a interesting time in the history of sports betting. We're like close to 10 years out from the repeal of the federal legislation that made Nevada very rich and made gambling, taboo. It's no longer taboo. States have rolled out legal sports books, and we're almost at a critical mass now. There's been the emergence of this like daily fantasy model. There's been the emergence of these sweepstakes focused venues. There's been the emergence of these prediction markets in the last few months. How does that change your process, if at all? Let's start with that.
You know, I really can't say that when I first started 6 years ago to now, I've seen much of a change in the betting markets.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now we're in Illinois, we're in Chicago, and I'll be in Florida in a few weeks, and I'll only have access to one book there.
Yeah.
And I think that would change, but overall, I don't think the lines have changed. I don't think much has changed, and that's why I haven't changed my model yet, like we touched on earlier, is because I haven't seen that change. But I do believe that change is inevitable.
Yeah.
And it will come, and when it does, I'll be ready for it.
What do you think it'll look like?
So the biggest thing I see coming potentially, and I hope it doesn't, because this would really affect my
I already know
everyday
where you're going.
life. But I think one day potentially, in the not too distant future, I think unders may
Be gone.
be gone.
Because of what we've seen
Because
with
of what
players
we've
manipulating markets and shady shit happening.
Exactly. And so if unders go away, it takes out about half my plays personally, and obviously my product would not have as much value, because if we get 10 plays a day now, if we go to 5 plays a day, naturally you're not going to make as many units because you're just getting less plays. And I think that may eventually come out of what we've seen recently, but I haven't really seen anything yet.
This is kind of tinfoil hat question, so feel free to say I have no idea. Do you think what has been widely reported over the past few years with a select number of NBA and MLB players clearly, doing the equivalent of point shaving on their own player props, has that happened forever? And it just used to be on offshore or local books, but now because it's all licensed and regulated, it becomes a news story?
I think it's always happened, but I think obviously now sports betting is bigger than it's ever been. Everyone's sports bets. You go to a bar and you talk to anyone who's, at least 21 years old, they're sports betting. And so it's just wider now, and so the FBI or whoever handles these cases now look for this stuff. And so now they're
and they have
able to
a
find it.
partner in FanDuel and DraftKings who
Right.
want to root out this bad behavior
Exactly.
too.
But I do think it's always happened. But now it's very difficult, more difficult than ever, to actually get away with it.
Yeah. And it becomes a news story. And it becomes a news cycle that, oh, this is happening, this is terrible, betting is terrible. When in reality, it's like, oh, we're actually catching this sort of illegal behavior as opposed to it just kind of...
But I do think it's always going to happen, but people need to get smarter with it. I do think it's just, there's people who do it now, like 100%.
Isn't it crazy? You got guys making millions of dollars a year who just can't get their hand out of the cookie jar.
Well, here's my philosophy, and I don't want
Let's
to give
hear it.
anybody any ideas. But here's what I've always thought. Why not go to a D2 or D3 college quarterback who's not going to go to the NFL, who's not really going to have that, sense of income when they graduate, and say, the spread's 23 and a half. You're favored by 23 points, win by 2 touchdowns, and we'll pay you this. And I don't know why people don't go to...
Can you bet on D3 football?
I'm sure there's ways
Yeah.
you could do that. And so I don't know why, people don't go to these D2, D3, even low D1
Yeah.
college quarterbacks who, aren't going to go to the NFL and give them money. I don't know why they wouldn't take it. And,
They're making too much in NIL now. I mean, it's crazy. The
Yeah,
amount of
but-
money
I know.
in athletics
I
at
know.
all levels.
Right.
I saw some tweet today. It's like the cost of getting an offensive lineman in college football is like $2 million.
Right. But for the guys not going to the league,
Yeah.
I mean, that money would be...
You never want to graduate college
Right.
if you're not going to the league.
Well, I still never want to graduate college, even though I had no NIL deal. But yeah.
Yeah, in a different life.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit more about not just Seeing Green Bets, the analyst, the capper. Talk to us about Seeing Green Bets, the entrepreneur. You worked on this model for 3-4 years. You decided to monetize it after you felt really good about it. What's your biggest learning from running a business and actually serving clients as opposed to just building your own bankroll?
So there's a lot of lessons I've learned. Too many to even count, right? Because I was in law school, and I left law school to pursue this. And I always said I'd go back if this didn't work out, but luckily this is working out. But the point is, there's so many lessons I've learned that I would not have otherwise been able to learn. And I think the biggest thing is how my generation sucks.
Huh!
I
That's
know
hilarious.
a lot of
The
my
spicy takes are coming.
I know a lot of my clientele is in my generation, so if you're a potential client, I'm not speaking to you.
Everybody else besides you,
Right.
they all suck.
Right. But there's just things that I think the older generation did that my generation doesn't know how to handle. So,
Give me an example.
okay, customer service, for example. I have handled clients for hours, and I, one day hope to have a customer service team who could do all this stuff for me. And I have the ability with DubClub,
Oh, what a plug.
to kind of outsource my customer service, and they could handle everything. But I think there's something to be said about being personable and actually having someone tell you the problems they're having, whether it be technological or with anything like that, and actually helping them, because that goes a long way. And if I have DubClub do it, which DubClub's customer service is phenomenal, but if I have them do it, it's not going to feel as personable. And so I may get, they may subscribe longer and win more money if they were on the fence about it because they personally have interacted with me. And I think that's something that I know my generation is not really the best with, is because that's kind of lost. I've worked with people, partnered with people that are close to my age, and I don't think they have like the same work ethic as when I work with people who are, a generation older than me. I think that's kind of getting lost, and I just think that's the biggest thing I've learned is that, and this is a lesson for any of you guys listening also, if you're in your 20s, differentiating yourself is pretty easy nowadays. Just work harder, just work a little bit harder because it's a lot easier because people in our age range are really kind of lazy.
They don't want to compete.
They don't want to compete.
Why do you think that is?
I think part of it is social media. I think a lot of it is people spend their days communicating through a phone rather than in person. They've kind of lost that ability. Having a conversation is more difficult now with people our age because they don't really do it. They just text, and I think that's just kind of lost. And I think that's part of it for sure. The age of social media has definitely, I think, I don't want to say ruined, but it's definitely diminished the outcomes of our generation.
But what an advantage for people like you.
Yes.
Who are willing to put in the work.
Exactly.
Put in the hours, make themselves vulnerable, put themselves out there, shining on those areas where other people are kind of tapping out. Nah, I just rather stay at home and order in DoorDash.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, we talked a lot about where betting market's going. We talked a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. I want to hear about where Seeing Green Bets is going, both as an analyst, as an entrepreneur. What's your 2 and 5 year vision?
It's something I've thought a lot about, especially in recent years, because I don't want to get complacent. Complacency is the devil. I don't want to get, I could be like, oh, I'm happy now. I'm doing really well for myself. I'm making a lot of people money. But the goal has always been to make as many people money as possible. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of losing sports bettors. Why can't one day they're all clients of mine? Why can't we all tail the same stuff every day? And eventually the sports book will become bankrupt because everyone will be tailing Seeing Green and they'll all become bankrupt.
They'll be seeing red.
Yes, and the bankrupt, what's the point of even operating if everyone's tailing Seeing Green? So that's the vision. Just get as many people to tail me and my model as possible and make as many people money as possible.